During the process of time travel, it merged with the computer, and the computer also evolved into a super-intelligent brain, which seems good, but this is a strange world, ahem. A walking supercomputer with powerful computing power that can use the butterfly effect to influence unrelated people, even reliably calculating and predicting the future. Does this count as knowing fate? Using science to analyze mystery, there is nothing in this world that cannot calculate the truth. If there is, it means there is not enough energy. Yang energy is just the energy that cells metabolize and dissipate. Keywords of the novel. Deconstructing Strange without pop-ups, Deconstructing Strange complete collection download, Deconstructing Strange latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. The Golden Finger art style is wrong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Golden Finger art style is wrong. I woke up, but I wasn't fully awake. Chu Dong lay in bed with a pale face. He was completely awake, but he couldn't open his eyes. His body was like being crushed to death by a stone, and he wanted to speak, but couldn't do it at all. Is the legendary ghost crushing the bed? Chu Dongpu is an ordinary programmer, but somehow he has crossed over. Chu Dong now has a disheveled hair and a slightly malnourished complexion, as if his body has run out of oil and the lamp has dried up. If he goes to take ghost photos at this time, he probably doesn't need makeup. You have now traveled to another world and your brain is surrounded by an unrecognizable layer of energy, so you cannot control your body. What sound? I am the computer you have been using before, traveling and integrating with you together. All my activities now rely on your brain due to prolonged lack of brain commands. Your body is moving towards decay, so after saying so much, do you have any ideas? Grant me permission to cross the energy barrier and directly send commands to my body. Is it just a command? Is it really a journey, not a dream? Just let me open my eyes. As soon as Chu Dong finished speaking, he felt a tingling sensation spread throughout his body, and then his eyes opened, but this was not what he wanted to do. His eyes seemed to have their own thoughts. What catches the eye is not the snow-white ceiling, but a roof made of old wooden boards, with some traces of being smoked by cooking smoke. Being able to see the general situation around me in the spare light is extremely rudimentary, and it can be said that I am from a humble family. Then Chu Dong felt his heart start to accelerate and jump, with an illusion of just finished exercising. Isn't this a dream? At this moment, Chu Dong suddenly heard the sound of the key opening the door from outside, as if the chain had been unlocked one after another. The sound made the chain seem thick. Are you still locked in the room by someone else? But the problem is that he can only look at the ceiling now and cannot do any other actions. The person who opened the door was an old man with gray hair and a bumpy back. He was the village head of this small village, and the villagers called him Old Wang. As he walked in, he muttered to himself, why was this child so young that he was slapped on the shoulder by a ghost? I don't know if the talisman obtained from this mansion is useful. Basic body adjustment completed. You can try to take action now, but you may not be very accustomed to it, because this is controlled by Jinao as a transfer station. Chu Dong naturally wanted to see the person coming in at the door for the first action, but he really didn't know how to operate it. After sending out this ordinary command to tilt his head suddenly bent towards the direction of the door. He can even hear the crisp sound of bones, which is an angle that humans cannot achieve. And when the old man walked in and saw the crooked angle of Chu Dong's head, he was immediately frightened and his legs were trembling uncontrollably. If there is something strange, don't blame it. I'm leaving now. The old man threw the yellow talisman in his hand into the room and then escaped, and Chu Dong felt a bit unbelievable. He could see his body from this angle, and his neck felt no sensation at all. The host can understand this approach as the body being hardware, and the brain being the core that controls these hardware. The software for controlling hardware is not yet perfect, and the self-protection mechanism is not sound enough. Chu Dong slowly raised his hand and then helped his head back. His neck was already swollen, and it was obvious that his previous attack had indeed injured it, but he did not feel any pain. Did you really travel through time? Chu Dong sat by the bed, carefully observing his room while also communicating with the computer in his head. The result is that this computer is not much different from oneself and knows nothing about the world. It is now integrated with Chu Dong's brain, possessing almost identical abilities to a computer, even surpassing ordinary computers. It can be said to be a presence similar to artificial intelligence. But it has already fused with Chu Dong's brain. Anyway, according to it, if it can fully integrate with Chu Dong's brain and develop all unused brain cells, its computing power will surpass the largest supercomputer known on Earth. So do you have any superpowers, such as adding points or exchanging items? No, I am not different from a computer, the only difference is that I am more intelligent than a regular computer, but because I exist in your brain, you will also have all the computer-related abilities, for example, setting programs to control cell evolution, and even aging, can stimulate muscle cell growth without exercise, and even amputate and regenerate. Chu Dong's eyes gradually lit up and he said, "What are you waiting for? Let's start now." At present it is not possible to achieve a fusion rate of less than 1% between the intelligent brain and the brain, and its function is limited. Currently, the body is extremely weak. Please replenish energy as soon as possible. You said it very well, but it's useless. Chu Dong moved his body for a while, controlling it like playing a game character was very unrealistic, but at least it was stronger than a ghost pressing the bed. He searched around his room, but couldn't find anything to eat. He was really poor, and there was still some raw rice in the rice jar, so there was nothing else. Can be eaten raw directly to save time. I can now simply strengthen the basic functions of this body, for example, digestion, metabolism, etc. Chu Dong was really hungry, and after Jinao finished saying these words, he even had a slight appetite as he looked at the raw rice. Chu Dong just took a bite of raw rice and didn't feel any taste, perhaps because this way of controlling the body didn't have a sense of taste. After all, I can't even feel the pain anymore. The feeling of flipping the river and the sea in his stomach that he had never experienced before made him somewhat novel. It felt like throwing raw meat into sulfuric acid, and the hunger disappeared very quickly. After only about 5 minutes, he no longer felt hungry. At present, the intelligent brain can only use the host's biological energy, which is the energy generated by the body's metabolism. For better understanding by the host, attribute quantification will be carried out. Name: Chu Dong Power. 0.5 Physical Fitness. 0.4 Bioenergy. 580. The basic daily consumption of a normal person is 20 units, with overdrawn bioenergy in parentheses, including but not limited to methods such as breaking down muscle fat. Physical fitness is estimated. Normal person 1. Chu Dong habitually pushed his glasses, but he found it empty. He feels very strange now, like taking a shower through a raincoat, very uncomfortable. This scholar is really thin and weak. Did you just say that my brain was wrapped in something? Preliminary calculation is also a certain type of energy, which needs to be calculated and analyzed. There is insufficient bioenergy, please add. After all, just want me to eat and eat, okay? Chu Dong brought a small stool and sat next to the rice jar to eat. Fortunately, there was still water at home, so he could eat it. Moreover, strangely enough, no matter what he ate, his stomach felt like a bottomless pit. This raw rice provides a considerable amount of energy. A bowl of raw rice costs about 5 units, and he ate 10 bowls in a row. And this scene of eating raw rice was all witnessed by the old boss of the opposite door. While he was eating raw rice, Jinao kept intermittently sharing some information about the original owner with him. The original owner was a poor scholar who had passed the imperial examination but did not pass, and did not make a serious living. He worked as a watchman in the village, reading while working. In the eyes of others, he was just a bookworm. The current age is approximately 19 years old. As for their village, surrounded by mountains on 3 sides, if you want to go out, you have to make a boat, which can be considered a secluded paradise. The biggest difference between this world and his perception of ancient times is that there are really ghosts here, and it's not a secret that everyone knows. But most people still haven't seen it before. But the original owner of this body did indeed see it, and after seeing it, he died. Even if he crosses over, this damn side effect still hasn't been eliminated. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Inducing Yang Qi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Inducing Yang Qi. Do you think that layer of energy is related to ghosts? Is there any way to eliminate it? This feeling is really bad. I even have some difficulty walking, analyzing. It is currently known that this type of energy can be offset by the natural energy released by the body's metabolism. Based on the comprehensive information from the database, this energy that appears due to metabolism should be referred to as Yang Qi database during the intelligent brain traversal. Over 90% of the data on the network is fused, and the data is very large, with questionable authenticity, so only probability analysis can be performed. This makes sense. People with strong bodies have strong metabolism and strong yang energy. People with weak bodies tend to have slow metabolism and weak yang energy. It is said that when the yang energy is weak, ghosts will be summoned. If compared by the energy intensity of metabolic overflow, the host's current yang energy has reached 10 times that of ordinary people. As long as you eat something and convert it into bioenergy, you can generate yang energy to counteract this special energy. The greatest use of the intelligent brain now is to control various metabolism of the body, and even to control various hormones in its body. For example, his current digestive ability is definitely not what a normal person should have. After eating 10 bowls of raw rice, a normal person should have been able to hold on long ago. Even if that bowl is a bit small, it is still abnormal. Following the plan provided by Jinao, Chu Dong ate 2 large bowls of raw rice and then lay down on the bed. Immediately after, his heart began to beat wildly, breaking through 120 beats per minute in no time. His body began to heat up and turn red, like a cooked shrimp. Although he was resting, his body seemed to have engaged in some intense exercise, and Chu Dong felt his head becoming increasingly clear. About half an hour later, Chu Dong's clothes and bedding were completely soaked in sweat, and the energy barrier in his head finally shattered. Yang energy is currently uncontrollable. It is only a special biological energy naturally produced by the body's metabolism, but I can make the Yang Qi have a tendency by controlling blood flow. Insufficient biological energy, please supplement as soon as possible. Name: Chu Dong Power. 0.6 Physical Fitness. 0.5 Bioenergy. Chu Dong got up from the bed and finally truly felt his body. The feeling of taking a shower through a raincoat completely disappeared, and because of this crazy way of stimulating metabolism, his body also became so strong. Chu Dong himself is a bookworm type of person, and there is no discomfort when it comes to traveling to a scholar. In addition, he used to work as a programmer and had the most interaction with computers, so it is easy to accept the existence of this intelligent brain. Chu Dong looked into the rice jar and found that he had already bottomed out. He had just eaten up half a month's worth of food. Chu Dong looked at the lush mountains outside and murmured, "You can't let me go gnaw on the bark, can you? Hiss, my neck hurts so much. The sprain is a bit too severe. The last bit of rice is eaten, and the biological energy will reach 7 o'clock, which is not even enough for a day's basic consumption." Although the scholar is weak, his character is still good, so there used to be people helping to order food. It's just that he has been haunting for so many days, and no one dares to come and see him anymore. Even the door was tied up with thick chains, afraid that he would come out and harm others. Not many people have seen ghosts, but the people here are all talking about ghosts and turning pale. Only the kind-hearted village chief occasionally glanced at him, and in the end, he was scared enough. Chu Dong walked to the door and picked up the talisman that the old village chief had brought. Yellow paper cinnabar, with some patterns he couldn't understand, and a small seal in the bottom right corner. I don't know if it's useful. Yin Yang. What does this mean? Chu Dong was standing at the door, gazing at the yellow talisman, when he heard the creaking sound of the window from across the street. Chu Dong followed the sound and found the old man from the village chief secretly looking at him from the opposite door. Chu Dong was about to reach out and say hello when the old man immediately pulled his head back. Village chief. This kid is definitely possessed by ghosts. No one eats raw rice like this, what bad luck. But at that moment, there was a knock on the door. Dong 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 dong, one sound after another, as if urging someone to die. The old village chief clenched his fist and looked out the window at the sun about to set. He was really afraid. Village chief, open the door. I'm not a ghost, I'm already fine. The old man's knuckles were pinched and his legs were trembling like chaff. He was not that ignorant newcomer, he was very aware of the danger of this ghost, and even a slight mistake could lead to death. But this simple wooden door panel cannot stop ghosts. The old man suddenly remembered something and said, ghosts pretend to be people, don't expose them, they can still live. That's really useful. Old Wong picked up the kitchen knife and pinned it behind him. Strong and calm, he opened the door. When he opened the door, he kept staring at Chu Dong's neck. Although there was a strange swelling there, it didn't seem to be a big problem. But Chu Dong looked like he had just been pulled out of the water, his clothes were soaked through and he disappeared for a while. Where did he get so much sweat? Is it possible that it's a water ghost on the body? Old Boss Wong increasingly believed in his own judgment. This thing is definitely not human. Village chief, I feel my body is better now. You don't need to lock the door for me anymore. I'm just starving inside. Can you pay some wages in advance? Old Wong's face trembled slightly, and he pointed to the rice bag in the corner of the wall. For some reason, he said in a strange way, take the rice, but don't forget your work. Chu Dong was stunned for a moment, but still agreed. Before the death of the original owner of this body, it can be said that the memory was very blurry before the coma, but the only thing that can be confirmed is that the ghost was hit during the night watch. Chu Dong thought to himself that living in such a world requires some means to save his life. He took out the yellow talisman from his arms and asked the village chief, how can this talisman be used? Old Wong took 2 steps back and exclaimed in his heart, hold the yellow talisman in your hand. This ghost is so fierce. This talisman was obtained from the mansion. It is said that wherever there is evil, stick it. You can watch at night and keep it by your side. Fu is a term used here to refer to officials, which can be used as the meaning of government. Most of the people in this village have not traveled to the outside world. This mansion is heaven. The yellow talismans issued by the official family should be useful no matter what. After all, they are from the official family, not some wandering god. Chu Dong is not a bold person, and can even be said to be timid. He often watches horror movies, but must have his roommates present. He is the kind of person who is afraid but can't help but want to watch them. So this job is not something he can accept, no matter what. But he seems to have no other choice now. He has to eat, and it seems like he has to continue working. But he thought to himself that he would put it off for a few days and eat all the rice first. If he doesn't eat it all, he won't leave the house. Chu Dong was carrying the bag of rice and about to leave. The village chief thought for a moment and then brought a piece of raw meat from beside him. Chu Dong thanked him and prepared to leave. After a while, he was so hungry that his chest pressed against his back, and his brain was constantly consuming his energy. To achieve deep fusion with the brain, the intelligent brain needs to develop dormant brain cells, which requires a large amount of energy. According to the intelligent brain's estimation, if it wants to achieve complete fusion, at least 1 million units should start. With a daily consumption of 20 units, Chu Dong doesn't even feel like he can live that long. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. This ghost, that's all. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. This ghost, that's all. The village chief's courtyard was only 10 steps away from Chu Dong's home, but just as he walked out of the village chief's house, the sun had set. The streets of the small village are paved with bluestone slabs, and now the street he stands on is the main street, very spacious. Although this is a village, its scale is not small. In any case, it requires around 100 households, which can be considered the size of a town. After all, it is too small and does not require human intervention. Judging by the time, it was around 6 p.m. in the afternoon, but by then, the street was completely empty. Chu Dong was a bit panicked. He picked up his rice bag and walked quickly towards home, but at this 10-step distance, he found that he couldn't get there no matter how he walked. The door in front of him seemed to be getting farther and farther away. You are spinning in place, and your brain receives external information transmission, resulting in incorrect judgments. This may be what is called illusion. Chu Dong put down his rice bag and wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. He had never experienced such a thing before. I thought to myself that I had already died once before, at least I wouldn't hit another ghost so quickly, that's why I dared to go out and beg for food. Eating and analyzing the current situation require energy. Chu Dong grabbed a mouthful of raw rice from the rice bag and swallowed it. The computing power of this intelligent brain is indeed strong enough, but the drawbacks are also very obvious, and the energy has always been insufficient. The current situation is that foreign information directly enters the brain, but only includes visual information, so the simplest way is to find the correct direction and close your eyes to go back, but I can't find the direction now. The correct initial orientation for going out is east, with a total of 11.5 turns. Taking the right foot as the axis, turn left 30 degrees and take 11 steps forward. Chu Dong couldn't help but sigh. It really deserves to be a computer. Chu Dong swallowed his saliva and walked towards that direction according to Jinao's instructions, but he didn't open his eyes throughout the journey. And this scene was all witnessed by an old beggar at the entrance of the village, who was also very strange. As it was getting late at night, there was no one in the village, and he was still sitting at the entrance. The old beggar was around 60 years old, wearing a grey headscarf. Although his clothes were tattered, they were not dirty. He also wore a pale gold token around his waist, which was particularly eye-catching. He knocked on his broken porcelain bowl with a crisp sound. This little kid has been unconscious for 2 days, and suddenly his yang energy is burning, making him look like a person. It's a bit interesting that the ghost eye can still find its own home. It's because the girl doesn't want you to leave. It's a bad fate. Chu Dong approached his own door step by step, and just as he was about to touch it, footsteps suddenly came from behind him. Then a cold female voice began to call out to him. Arung, why don't you come see me? Look back at me, my body is so uncomfortable being penetrated by these maggots. Chu Dong's mind became increasingly chaotic, and an image of a decaying female corpse involuntarily appeared in his mind, with his heart beating rapidly and fiercely. The physical burden caused by fear is too heavy, and you are about to die suddenly. What can I do? I can't control it. Foreign pheromones are affecting your brain, greatly enhancing your fear response. I need authorization to suppress your brain domain activity. Sure. The current level of integration between intelligence and brain is too low to suppress a single emotion, and can only be comprehensively suppressed, which will inevitably lead to side effects. Jinao started working, and Chu Dong's emotions became more and more stable. His heart rate also gradually slowed down, but his expression also began to become more and more numb. Arung, look back at me, I feel so uncomfortable. In theory, Chu Dong will take another step forward and return home at this time. Just take one step and it will be fine. But now he doesn't feel any fear at all, and even thinks he can see the appearance of the female ghost and expand the database for Jinao. Chu Dong turned his body and looked at the female ghost behind him with a wooden expression. That is a woman wearing longevity clothes, looking quite delicate, if there are no sores on her face. The longevity clothes are a bit dirty, with a few footprints printed on them, looking like they have just crawled out of the soil. Chu Dong immediately sighed and said, what should I do? This ghost is just like that. The female ghost froze and remained motionless for half a day. Even the old beggar who had been paying attention to this side was shocked. The porcelain bowl fell to the ground and broke in half. This evaluation is amazing. The female ghost was not willing to accept it. She gradually approached Chu Dong, and the maggots on her body became more and more active. As long as Chu Dong was afraid and his soul was unstable, she could seize the opportunity to enter. "It's so disgusting, can you keep away from me?" The female ghost became even angrier and approached Chu Dong in just a few steps. Just as the two were about to collide, Chu Dong calmly raised his hand and made a gesture similar to a traffic police stop. The yellow talisman, which had been held in his hand for a long time, was just about to press onto the female ghost's forehead. Then there was a growl, like the sound of gunpowder being ignited. The female ghost let out a scream and was blown back more than 10 meters, and then everything around her returned to its original appearance. At this moment, Chu Dong was standing at his doorstep, in that dilapidated room. The old beggar scratched his head. The standard talisman of Yin Yang Si. The suppression of the intelligent brain ended, and normal emotions gradually returned to Chu Dong's mind. He looked at the yellow talisman in his hand, which had turned into ashes, feeling somewhat unbelievable. Chu Dong said, "I was so strange just now. It seemed like I couldn't feel anything, and I did that kind of thing. The brain domain is too mysterious, and I can only choose areas that are too active for suppression, which will inevitably make your behavior different from ordinary people." Chu Dong. Has it died? Insufficient information, but high probability of no death. When the talisman touched a creature called a female ghost just now, it emitted a strong yang energy. This kind of pattern, called a talisman, should be truly effective. You can try copying, let's talk about it later. Let's go home first. Chu Dong carried rice and entered the house, then hung the door bolt. Although this thin wooden door had little defense, it could indeed bring him a lot of psychological comfort. Why do you consume so much? Completing the first stage of fusion, after which one will be able to control various body skills to a greater extent, expected to require 80 units of bioenergy. With that big bag of raw rice, Chu Dong felt like he couldn't eat it for long, but fortunately, his body was gradually strengthening during this process, with no negative effects. "Dong dong dong dong, Brother Chu, I'm here to bring you food. Open the door quickly." Looking at the slightly shaking wooden door, Chu Dong hesitated a bit. This time was somewhat sensitive, but the female ghost had just been blown up by a spell, so she shouldn't have come to the door so quickly. Chu Dong lay on the crack of the door and glanced out. It was a woman wearing a veil, wearing a light green long dress, looking eagerly at Chu Dong's door. Their village has no official name, and outsiders have always called it Xiaogu Village. However, there has always been a custom here that women's appearance before marriage cannot be casually displayed. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Intelligent Mode. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Intelligent Mode. Girls can go out and live normally, but they must wear a veil. Jinao also provided Chu Dong with information about this person, who he did know and lived next door, even considered a childhood sweetheart. Chu Dong. Have I been disturbed by illusions now? Everything is normal since the person in front of him was human. Chu Dong also let go. He untied the door bolt and let the girl in, because memory won't go wrong. This girl is a living person and she is very familiar with him. Xiaotong, why are you coming out so late? The girl shyly lowered her head and timidly said, I heard you talking to the village chief just now. I was a bit worried and came over. The girl held an unnamed roasted meat in her hand, which looked very appetizing. Chu Dong saw that the room was too dark, so he lit the candle. Although the survival difficulty was at its maximum, Chu Dong thought it was not bad to have a girl throw herself in her arms. But just as Chu Dong lit the candle, he suddenly couldn't speak. Because there is no shadow under the girl's feet. Simulated analysis of bone appearance. The woman's appearance is roughly as follows. Chu Dong's head showed a girl taking off her veil, which was already light and thin. Her intelligent brain easily simulated her actual appearance, which was beautiful, almost identical to the female ghost he had exploded before. Chu Dong's previous life was a true bookworm, always treating girls with indifference, so he only knew the girl's figure and had no idea about her appearance. This resulted in Chu Dong having no data to use when he saw the female ghost. The girl was staring at him with some discomfort and said wryly, "Brother Chu, why are you looking at him like that today?" Chu Dong remained silent. He had no idea what had happened, what a ghost was this girl a ghost? There was nothing to refer to. If there is no problem with the memory read by the intelligent brain, then this girl is Xiaotong who is spending time with Chu Dong day and night. How could she be a female ghost? Did the female ghost transform into the appearance of the girl he is most familiar with? But how does that shadow explain? Chu Dong took the grilled meat from the girl's hand and casually asked, "What kind of meat is this?" The girl didn't think much and immediately replied, "It was the roe deer meat that my father brought back from the mountains. That foolish roe deer bumped into the trap on its own. It's getting late, and seeing that you're okay makes me feel at ease. Brother Chu, I'll go back first, otherwise my dad will be angry." The girl opened her mouth and wanted to leave, which confused Chu Dong for a moment. If it were a ghost, shouldn't she find a way to harm herself? How could she leave after delivering the barbecue? The girl left without any hesitation, leaving only a piece of grilled meat. Is this a person or a ghost? At present, the means for intelligent brain to obtain information are very scarce, almost completely relying on the host's eyes, so the data is seriously insufficient. What do you mean by saying, replicate the talisman? There is a faint residual yang energy on the talisman, and currently it is determined that the specific shape of yang energy may trigger different effects. In theory, it can be perfectly replicated, and yellow paper and cinnabar should have a good retention effect on yang energy. Chu Dong looked at his poor and unbearable home. Where did it look like there was yellow paper cinnabar? Is rice paper and ink okay? Does this scholar have this? Uncertain, data analysis is still needed. You can try it. In this situation, Chu Dong was really not in the mood to sleep. He laid out rice paper and started grinding ink. His intelligent brain had an incredible ability to observe objects, and it could calculate and analyze anything Chu Dong had seen. Even infer the stroke order based on the traces on the talisman and the varying degrees of infiltration of cinnabar into the yellow paper. And then, what do I do? My brain knows it, but I don't know how to use my hands, right? Suggest improving the integration of intelligence and brain, enabling intelligent mode, and allowing the intelligence to directly control the body for perfect reproduction. How could you not control my body through me? Authorization required. Within the scope of authorization, the host is equivalent to the manager of the intelligent brain. At present, the fusion degree between intelligent brain and brain domain is less than 1%, and perfect control cannot be achieved. How much more biological energy is needed? Expected around 70 o'clock. Not much. The grilled leg meat that the girl sent was very large, probably enough for an ordinary person to eat for 2 days, but Chu Dong ate it all at once, and the taste was a bit bland, but there was no strange smell. Name: Chu Dong Power. 0.6 Physical Fitness. 0.6 Bioenergy. 80, 100, has the quantity in this bracket increased? The intelligent brain is accelerating your body's metabolism, and a deficient body will quickly make up for it. Muscle fat synthesis takes time, and the brain only accelerates this process. After all, eating so much in a day requires gaining some weight. Now this body is still too thin and weak. Following Jinao's advice, Chu Dong lay in bed again, and then he felt his head heating up, and the scene in front of him began to become somewhat blurred. It seems that some kind of electric current is running wildly in his head. Half an hour later, Chu Dong breathed a sigh of relief, and the strange feeling finally stopped. Brain domain fusion degree reaches 1%, intelligent mode can be activated. Chu Dong wiped the sweat off his forehead and came to his desk, silently reciting to activate the intelligent mode. I saw my right hand lift up, and then I saw my right hand holding a brush and starting to draw on rice paper. The shape, stroke order, and even size were perfectly replicated. And Chu Dong cannot see the so-called yang energy, but it seems that the intelligent brain can. Did you succeed? Observing the retention of yang energy for 3 minutes and 2 seconds, this is the limit of the carrying yang energy of rice paper and ink. The dissipation of yang energy means that this talisman now has its own shape and is no different from a child's ghost-drawn talisman. In other words, this talisman must be used within 3 minutes of being drawn. It can almost be said to be completely useless. Chu Dong looked at his right hand and suddenly remembered something. The so-called intelligent mode just now only took 2 seconds to draw a spell. Does this mean that he can draw on sight when encountering ghosts? Can you control my body to fight? Of course, the intelligent brain possesses almost all of human combat skills, and can also integrate all information for comprehensive judgment. There is no doubt about combat skills. If necessary, I can start organizing and integrating an automatic combat system or combat assistance system. Isn't this a great sage? Let's start with automatic combat. It feels like playing games across the screen. The acceleration of metabolism by the intelligent brain seems to have side effects. At least now, Chu Dong feels very tired. Perhaps it is the after effect of his ghost, so Chu Dong went straight to bed. Let's go whoever we love. This night watch breaking incident. Chicken crowing at dawn. Chu Dong opened his eyes and felt that his whole body was full of strength, without any initial weakness. It was already dawn, and Chu Dong went to the yard to fetch a basin of water and wash his body. As the night passed, he had a lot of oily sludge on his body. Chu Dong said, "You're accelerating my body like this. Will I die soon?" End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Must make a night shift. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 6. Warlocks and Warriors. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 6. Warlocks and Warriors. But Chu Dong, who was studying all day, really didn't have time to make money. In addition, he had no father or mother, and had to solve his own food and clothing needs. That's why he took on this job, and it was Wu Yong who led him along. Back then, Chu Dong was still grateful, but now no matter how you look at it, it's all hurting him. Chu Dong did not immediately agree, but said, "Village chief, this night is so dangerous, I don't want to die." The village chief anxiously sucked his teeth and looked at the people around him. No one dared to look at the old man, afraid of setting fire to him. "Hey! If we don't fight, we'll have trouble. Chu Dong, are you okay? I even went to the mansion to ask for a talisman for you. You should be the village chief." Chu Dong showed a look of embarrassment and fear. "It's not impossible for me to watch. We need to pay more, this is a life buying money." The villagers around were a bit surprised because Chu Dong was so strange. Before, this foolish scholar was obedient and rarely said anything, but today he would even withdraw money. Isn't a scholar very noble? But Chu Dong is also helpless. His appetite is too large now. Even if he doesn't care about the integration of his intelligence and brain, he still wants to eat something good. This poor scholar has nothing on him. Wu Yong urged on the side again. "Village chief, if no one watches, I'm afraid someone will have another accident tonight." The village chief stomped his feet in pain. "The monthly payment for you has increased from 1 or 2 to 10 taels, which is already the limit I can offer. Chu Dong, I have taken care of you a lot. If something happens again, I won't be able to maintain my position as the village chief." Someone next to him immediately became dissatisfied and said, "These 10 taels of silver are enough for our annual expenses." Chu Dong looked at the person and asked directly, "Either you go." The person who was dissatisfied immediately lost his voice. This money has a life to earn, and one must also have a life to spend. This brother, we have learned martial arts, but we shouldn't use them that way. This person's words were suddenly inserted, and it was behind everyone. The crowd automatically moved away, revealing an old beggar leaning against the wall. The beggar's eyes were very bright, making people feel trapped when they saw him. This is the person who was watching Chu Dong at the village entrance yesterday. Wu Yong glared at the person and said, "It's none of your business. If you want to retire, don't meddle in your own affairs." The old beggar picked up a broken bowl and stood up, patted the dust off his body inside before leaving. However, no matter how he listened, the old man had something to say. Old Wang took out 10 taels of silver from his arms and placed them in Chu Dong's palm, as if afraid of him turning back. "I'll pay you this money first. Don't miss any more errands tonight. Go to my place and take your stuff later." Wu Tong anxiously grabbed Chu Dong's arm. "Brother Chu, please don't go. It's not safe. If you're short of money, I still have some here." Wu Yong also felt a bit angry when he saw his daughter like this. He came up and grabbed Wu Tong's hand, intending to take her home. "When I was leaving, I bumped into Chu Dong and almost knocked him down. His strength was really abnormal. This person in his 60s can still have such strength, and even with his thin and weak body, it seems like a gust of wind can blow him down, but his strength can be so much greater than Chu Dong's." The old village chief brought 2 brave men and carried the person to the south of the village, which is the usual place for burying people. Chu Dong said, "I have to go find that old beggar. He must know something. And looking at him always gives me a strange feeling. It's the opacity of the eyeballs, and the degree of opacity in the white part of his eyes is not like that of a person of this age. Indeed, his eyes are so bright. I'll follow up and ask." They only have about 100 households in this small village, and there are not many merchants on weekdays. Each family sweeps the snow in front of their door, cultivates land, and lives comfortably. But no matter how you look at this village, it is not suitable for a beggar's life. Chu Dong finally found him at the bottom of the card building at the village entrance. This place is rarely visited on weekdays, so what can he get here? "Grandpa, are you hungry? Why don't I treat you to a meal?" "You call me Grandpa, do you know how old I am? You must be very young, probably in your 50s. Chu Dong had already tried his best to talk about being younger, but in fact, he felt that this person was at least 60 or even almost 70 years old. The old beggar chuckled and revealed a large set of white teeth, which were neat and without stains, definitely not what an old man should have. "You child, you're not sensible. I'm only 39 years old this year, so you have to call me Big Brother. Chu Dong was stunned for a while and didn't react. "He's 39 years old." Chu Dong said, "Big Brother, you look a bit anxious. Let's go, please have a meal." The old beggar looked at Chu Dong with disdain. "Just you, please me. Forget it, let me treat you. Let's go and come home with me to eat." Chu Dong. "Do you still have a home?" "What? Beggars can't have a home anymore." The old beggar led the way directly out of the village, and within a few steps, he saw a large mansion. He had an impression that it was the former residence of the landlord here, but later the landlord's whole family died suddenly, and the mansion became deserted. "This is a notorious haunted house. My name is Huang De, just call me Brother Huang. Don't worry, I bought this house. I just think this village is beautiful and suitable for elderly care. I didn't expect there to be so many worries." The old beggar pushed open the door and was greeted by a maid inside. She brought tea and changed clothes for the old beggar. "Is this the life that beggars should have?" "Sir, the food is ready. As you instructed, we have added an extra pair of chopsticks." Huang De waved his hand in a very casual manner. "All right, I got it. You go down." Chu Dong was a bit surprised and said, "Are you treating guests today?" Huang De chuckled softly and turned around to ask, "Aren't you?" This statement made Chu Dong's scalp tingle. Did he use a condom? Huang De brought Chu Dong into the room, and the food was very sumptuous, with half of it being meat dishes. This was an extremely sumptuous dish. After all, in this small place, only a little meat dishes were served during festivals. Chu Dong said, "My family suddenly has something to attend to. Let's leave first." Huang De sat at the table and suddenly said, "Don't you want to know why that female ghost is pestering you?" "I am human, don't be afraid." Chu Dong finally sat back. He really needed some information unique to this world. "Eat it, it's all good food." Chu Dong is not worried about him poisoning, because he is not worthy of such a card face when dealing with such a poor scholar. Just now, he just wanted to invite someone to eat a bowl of noodles. Chu Dong. "Are you and that Wu Yong the same kind of person?" Huang De. "Oh. Why do you ask that?" "Guess it, you all look very young but very old, and just now you said, 'Did you and I learn magic?' What is art?" Huang De suddenly burst out laughing and said, "Ha ha ha, I never thought there could be such a broad-minded person in this small village. You're right, both I and that person are sorcerers. I just learned martial arts and I'm a little younger than him, aha." Chu Dong. Warlock. Practicing martial arts. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. The Art of Kryptonite. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. The Art of Kryptonite. It's normal for you to have grown up in this remote village since you were young and not know. Let me briefly tell you, practicing martial arts is about strengthening the body and cultivating internal qi. As for the sorcerers, they learn some obscure techniques, such as exorcism, catching ghosts, witchcraft, inviting gods, and talismans, all of which are classified as spells. Some people also call it a spell, but there's no difference. And those who learn these techniques are called sorcerers. Chu Dong was completely unaware of these news, including the memories of his predecessor, a poor scholar, practicing martial arts, and martial arts. He had never heard of them. How can you listen? This warrior and sorcerer are not ordinary people anymore. Huang De took a sip of wine and continued, "Did you use a yellow talisman yesterday?" That is the technique of talismanship, the lowest level standard talismanship of the yin and yang department, called the explosive yang talisman, with average effectiveness. Is that still average? Yesterday you met that thing, not even a ghost, and that yellow talisman naturally had an effect. But yesterday I saw that you were able to walk out of that ghost-covered eye. How did you do it? Chu Dong naturally said, "It's not difficult to distinguish when you fell into the illusion, and then calculate how many rotations you made based on your position before entering the illusion. Find the right direction and walk in that direction." Huang De scratched his head and said, "Surprisingly, there is such a solution. Is this the way scholars think? But you are really calm. Ordinary people would have been panicked and they encountered this, let alone realizing the false illusion at that time. So are you looking so old because you have learned martial arts?" Huang De's smile decreased significantly upon hearing this, but he didn't get angry. He just spoke in a low tone, and most of the time, Huang De was speaking while Chu Dong was listening. The so-called technique refers to all methods that can deal with yin and ghost objects, and almost all effective methods will consume lifespan. The more powerful the technique used, the more lifespan it will consume. That's also why both of them look so old. Although he is only in his 30s, he has almost consumed his lifetime due to the use of magic, which is the cost of using magic that no one can avoid. If we analyze it solely based on the carving and seal script, the so-called lifespan consumption may be related to the consumption of yang energy, but whether the cost of all techniques is to consume yang qi, more data analysis is needed. But what makes Chu Dong more concerned is not these skills that can deal with ghosts, but another ability called martial arts. Huang De said that when practicing martial arts deep, he can use his flesh to palm stones and fly over roofs and walls. Moreover, internal power can nourish the body and increase lifespan, so many sorcerers will learn some martial arts to offset the cost of using spells. But this is treating the symptoms rather than the root cause. Martial arts cannot make people live forever, at most they can live to be around 100 years old. If the technique consumes a person's yang energy, which is why it reduces lifespan, then what does martial arts rely on to enhance a person's physique and lifespan? Chu Dong said, "Why are you telling me so much? Your yang energy is much stronger than that of ordinary people, and you are a good academic embryo. I just don't want to see you being killed like this." Was someone killed? Did you say Wu Yong? You're actually smart, I thought you needed to waste a few more words. You were sealed by a ghost before, and in theory, you would be damned in 7 days. But I don't know how you managed to survive, but now you are a top academic embryo. Are you interested? Is there such a good thing? Huangde suddenly laughed, as if he had heard a joke, and asked in response, "Do you think this is a good thing? Warlocks don't last long as you learn magic, you are destined to have no way back." Chu Dong does not agree with this point. Having some self-protection ability is better than being slaughtered by others, right? This is quite reasonable. In this world where evil spirits are everywhere, knowing something can ultimately save one's life. However, when practicing martial arts, one should first practice martial arts. Otherwise, relying on your small body, if you continue to practice a few skills, you will be beaten to death. Do you see the old man next door who is neither human nor ghost like that? In the end, that's the end. Huangde shouldn't be considered a good person, after all, he also said that he knew Chu Dong would die before, but he didn't intervene. Now, it was only because Chu Dong's strong yang energy was suitable for practicing martial arts that he realized he wanted to help Chu Dong. And Chu Dong is not sure if he really wants to help. But after all, if there is profit, Chu Dong can practice with him first. In the end, all the dishes on the table were eaten up, and Huangde had already eaten enough. In the end, he stared at Chu Dong's performance the whole time. He had never seen a thin and weak person eat like this before. And the more he eats, the more intense his yang energy becomes. Huangde truly cherishes talent. He has never seen a physique like Chu Dong, shining like a bright lamp in the dark. His yang energy is more than 10 times that of an average person, and he is also very young. You should know that youth is capital. Now he has discovered a new advantage, being able to eat. A person who practices martial arts must be able to eat, but if a person has a talent for practicing martial arts, then they are useless in practicing martial arts. If they have a talent for practicing martial arts, then they are useless in practicing martial arts. Although he couldn't understand why, it has been the case since ancient times. But the person in front of him showed him a new possibility. What would happen if both magic and martial arts reached their peak? Huangde said, "Come and fight with me. I'll teach you how to condense your qi first. This is a painstaking process that requires at least a year of fighting to be effective, and you must eat well. Art and martial arts are mutually exclusive, and your martial arts talent may not be as satisfactory as expected." Huangde began to demonstrate to Chu Dong in his own yard. His martial arts were very slow, but they were indeed very complicated. Not only were his hands facing, but also his head was facing, his legs were placed, and even his waist was tilted. Anyway, according to Huangde, there is one mistake, it's all in vain. Suggest activating intelligent mode and having the brain analyze the patterns. Currently, there is still sufficient biological energy. Name: Chu Dong Power. 0.8 Physical Fitness. 0.9 Bioenergy. 50-110, then turn on the smart mode. Chu Dong can still feel his body and give commands to it, but as long as he doesn't resist, his body will act on its own, like a pair of invisible hands driving his body. But if he really wants to resist, there is no pressure. After activating the intelligent mode, Chu Dong almost completely replicated Huangde's martial arts, with no deviation in each move. Huangde frowned and asked, "Have you learned it before?" Chu Dong said, "If my martial arts were really as strong as you said, how could I be so miserable? It makes sense, but how could you play so well, kid? Just imitate. 2 words suddenly popped out of Huang De's heart, genius. And he is a martial arts genius. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Yanming's Martial Arts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Yanming's Martial Arts. Huang De also had a hint of wanting to test Chu Dong's limits in his heart, so he completed the entire set of condensing Chi Fist in one go. This was not a sophisticated martial art, but beginners had to hone it for a month. But he found that this person had completely mastered it after just looking at it once. The specific martial arts route gives blood flow a tendency, and this specific tendency, along with the frequency of fluctuations caused by punching, is absorbing the energy that cells dissipate. Chu Dong. Are you saying that internal Qi is Yang Qi? Not really, but they are all a type of bioenergy. If we have to explain, it is that cell energy is generated outward and converted into Yang Qi, and then into internal Qi. But the internal Qi and Yang Qi have completely different attributes. Their roots are all one, originating from cells. However, without exception, both Yang Qi and Nei Qi have undergone changes in their properties, and currently their computing power is insufficient to support deeper analysis. Chu Dong could feel that as his body punched repeatedly, a strange and hot sensation suddenly appeared in certain parts of his body, as if something was moving inside his body. But it will soon disappear. So he asked out this doubt. Huang De was greatly surprised. What are you saying? You felt angry on the first day. Huang Degan didn't believe it and asked Chu Dong to continue punching. He placed his hand on Chu Dong's heart to feel his body. With the perfect rhythm of his body and the intentional acceleration of his brain, Chu Dong did indeed feel a sense of anger the first time. The gas condensed, but dissipated again. Huang De shook his head in disappointment. It is indeed internal Qi, but your body cannot retain it. Your foundation is too weak, and some of the internal Qi is absorbed, while others are directly dissipated. But this explanation doesn't make sense. With such a weak body, where did you get the strong yang energy? Huang De knew that Chu Dong's body was weak, but he didn't expect it to be so weak. It could even be said that he could collapse with a gust of wind. This kind of person, not to mention practicing martial arts, would struggle to live normally. Huang De's face was filled with surprise, mixed with a hint of disappointment. A body that cannot retain internal energy can only be a martial artist in this lifetime, a martial artist without internal energy. These internal Qi seem to flow in a specific direction within the body, which is neither blood vessels nor nerves. The human body seems to truly have meridians and requires a large amount of data analysis. Chu Dong just felt very comfortable practicing martial arts. His body was hot, so he didn't stop the intelligent mode. This condensed Qi fist hit circle after circle, and his condensed internal Qi could exist for even longer. From the first few seconds to the current 10 or so seconds. The direction of internal Qi circulation is basically consistent with blood flow, but it is not blood vessels. The existence of meridians cannot be scientifically confirmed yet, but it cannot be proven that they do not exist. But based on current data, the direction of internal Qi circulation should be meridian's name. Chu Dong power. 0.8 physical fitness. 0.9 bioenergy. 40-110, Chu Dong. I'm hungry. Huang De. So fast. Your talent for condensing Qi is indeed terrifying, but unfortunately your physical foundation is too poor. Take a break for a while and eat some good food to replenish your body. Wang Pe, make a few meat dishes and bring them up. Got it, sir. Practicing martial arts only takes half an hour, and with the calculation and analysis of the intelligent brain, combined with condensing Qi, it has already consumed 50 units of biological energy, which is the basic consumption of a normal person for 2 days. However, this half hour has made his body much stronger. If there is enough food to nourish him, it may not be long before he can become an ordinary person. When Chu Dong practiced boxing, Huang De lay on a rocking chair basking in the sun. He was also observing Chu Dong, but he didn't know what was going on. Many theories were not applicable to Chu Dong. For example, a normal person can only do half an hour of Ningqi Quan per day, otherwise they will be exhausted and weak, and too much is not enough. He didn't remind Chu Dong, just to let him feel it on his own, which was a long lesson, but who knew that this kid would spend an entire afternoon fighting, and apart from having to drink water and eat midway, there was no exhaustion or weakness at all. Just like, as long as there is food, he is a perpetual motion machine. Huangde. This is so extraordinary. As the sun set in the west, the whole day of this practice had passed. Chu Dong had eaten up all the ingredients of Huangde's family for a week, but Huangde had already become numb. And some food, not worth a few dollars, he was curious about how much this kid could eat. Name. Chu Dong Strength. 1.1 Physical Fitness. 1.2 Bioenergy. 70, 150, how long has your internal energy been able to exist? Let's take around 30 breaths. Huangde sighed and said with a hint of regret. It seems that you were really too poor before, so you haven't had enough to eat. Your talent should still be there, but it's hard to make up for the lack of foundation. Take your time, it's getting dark soon. You go home. Chu Dong looked up and saw that the sun was indeed about to set. This small valley village was in the valley, and the sun would set 1 or 2 hours earlier than usual. It was probably around 4 o'clock now. Chu Dong. Do I really need to go to the night shift? Huangde lay on the rocking chair and replied in a particularly low voice. There are some things in this village that I haven't figured out yet. Before that, let's maintain the status quo. With your current yang energy protecting you, that half-ghost can't harm you. Just calm down like yesterday. On this day, he also talked a lot with Huangde, and the biggest question was naturally what a ghost is. In the eyes of Jinao, a ghost is just a biological energy, but there must be a reason for everything. And Huangde also told him a very explosive news, which is the existence of the Kuroshio. The so-called Kuroshio is a black mist that envelopes the earth like a tide. The Kuroshio invades the earth once a month, and after the Kuroshio, evil spirits appear. Now no one can explain why. As for the woman Chu Dong saw, she couldn't even be considered a ghost. The reason why Huangde came to this village for retirement is because the terrain here is naturally unique, and the Kuroshio will pass by due to the protection of the mountains, so there will be no real ghosts here. That scholar has lived here since childhood, and naturally has not seen the Kuroshio. However, according to Huangde's description, the Kuroshio seems to have spread out from somewhere. The setting sun shone on the streets of the village, and the people working in the fields had already returned home early. The smoke from the kitchen was lingering, but it was really like a paradise in the world. If there are no ghosts here at night. Chu Dong returned home and happened to meet Wu Yong, who was carrying a hoe on his back. His feet were still covered in mud. He glanced at Chu Dong and went home without saying a word. Chu Dong glanced at the sun, and it was only a while before it set. He followed the direction of Wu Yong's return and found that there was mud under Wu Yong's feet, most likely just coming back from the back mountain. Although there were many footprints on the ground, his intelligent brain could still distinguish them clearly, and even highlight Wu Yong's footprints in Chu Dong's field of vision. Chu Dong walked to the back door of the village and didn't dare to go out again, because a few more steps ahead would be the village cemetery. Chu Dong said, "Why did he go to the cemetery? It's not his turn to bury the body of that drunkard in the morning. Big brother, it's this kid, let's take action." End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Tomb Digging. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Tomb Digging. Chu Dong turned around and saw two unfamiliar people surrounding him. The appearance of the outsiders in their lives was very eye-catching. Their village was relatively rich in natural resources, surrounded by mountains and rivers, and the scenery was also beautiful. But they are both poor and remote, with few outsiders coming. And the looks in these two people's eyes were obviously malicious. "Kid, come with us obediently and avoid the pain of this flesh and skin." Chu Dong took 2 steps back and said, "What do you want?" "Someone wants to see you." "Second brother, don't talk to him too much. It's getting dark soon. Solve it quickly, you stinky scholar." The two of them were strong and had weapons in their hands, like shovels for digging the ground. No matter what, Chu Dong's small physique had no chance of winning. Chu Dong took a step back and silently said to activate the intelligent mode. Then he immediately took a step forward and took the initiative to attack. Both of them lifted their weapons and smashed them over. Chu Dong leaned back and kicked his right foot on the ground, causing himself to circle around the two of them. Then he quickly stood up with his left hand propped up and punched both of them in the neck, causing them to faint on the spot. The total duration of the entire journey is only 3 seconds. Although Jinao boasted that it integrated most of human combat skills, the first real battle still startled Chu Dong. It seemed like he could do every action, but it didn't seem like he could. Single-legged circling feels a bit like lightness skills inertia and lateral force. Controlling the force can control the position where the body is thrown out, which has advantages in short-distance bursts. Chu Dong rummaged through the clothes of both of them, only finding 2 pieces of broken silver. "Outsiders, what are you doing in this dilapidated place? And this shovel, why is it so similar to a tomb raiding shovel? The target's soul matches the footprints on the female ghost last night, consistent. The female ghost that Chu Dong saw yesterday was wearing a shroud, which was only worn for burial of dead people, but there were 2 footprints on that garment. Chu Dong didn't think much about it last night. With this messy string of clues, Chu Dong's mind suddenly came up with the word tomb robber. Chu Dong said, "The appearance of that female ghost is indeed like a rotten corpse, with 2 feet on her body. Let's drag these 2 grandsons back first." 5 minutes later, Chu Dong sat on the ground sweating profusely. What kind of body is this? It's so weak. No wonder this person is so heavy and tired of me. These 2 people were both big and rough, but Chu Dong was weak after a few hundred meters. In the end, he had no choice but to tie them to a tree and wake them up. When the 2 woke up, they were still confused and didn't even know how they had been knocked unconscious by someone. "In less than a quarter of an hour, it will be dark. Tell me who sent you to find me, otherwise you will be prepared to spend the night here." One of the tomb robbers remembered what happened just now and trembled, saying, "Big brother, isn't this or this a person?" He, like a ghost, ran behind me with a swoop. "Shut up. Brother, we are all forced by others. Please help me relax quickly. It won't be good if it gets late at night." Chu Dong remained silent and just looked at the 2. The sunshine was disappearing inch by inch, and sweat beads appeared on the foreheads of the 2 big men. As a result, the second of them couldn't hold on and spoke out in one breath. The 2 of them were originally tomb robbers who were running around and committing crimes. When they arrived at the boundary of Changming Mansion, there were rumors in the community that there was a peach blossom paradise in the valley not far away. There were no ghosts or gods invading the paradise, and the people inside were simple and prosperous. Upon hearing this, the 2 brothers immediately decided to come here to explore the truth. Leaving aside the absence of ghosts and gods, being so wealthy made them tempted. The 2 of them were not highly skilled tomb robbers, but rather some small thugs who dug up the graves of ordinary families, rolled up some burial items, and ran to the next place. So they came here, ready to explore the truth. They arrived here and found that most of the people in the village were very poor, but there was one exception, which was Wu Yong's family. This family seemed to be very wealthy, and coincidentally, when they arrived, they happened to see Wu Yong burying his body. This made the 2 of them extremely happy. This kind of family burial gift should be very generous. So they dug up the grave that Wu Yong had dug, only a newly buried female corpse. As a result, they couldn't find any burial objects and were completely trapped in this village. A female ghost haunts her and dies as soon as she leaves the village. They came to find Chu Dong today because the female ghost left them a letter asking them to take Chu Dong to the grave, and only then did they let them go. Chu Dong said, "You dug graves half a month ago. What does that girl look like? You and I can describe each other one by one. It is basically the same as the ghost that Chu Dong saw yesterday. So Wu Yong probably buried Wu Tong. Chu Dong has never heard of Wu Tong's own sisters. If Wu Tong is in the grave, what is that of the Wu family? There is an entity that can deliver meat, but no shadow can be seen. There is also a corpse in the coffin, which is exactly the same, but also trampled by two people. It should also be an entity. Double souls, split souls, and so on, Chu Dong can forcibly understand. But he couldn't understand these two bodies. There wouldn't have been clones or anything like that in ancient times, right? However, as the sun was about to set, Chu Dong still let the two of them go. He had to come out to watch at night, so he wasn't too afraid of the sun setting, but both of them were scared to pee. Chu Dong said, "Let's go. If you don't want to die, come find me tomorrow." Based solely on this information, forcing the intelligent brain to analyze will at most burn the brain and not yield any results. It is still necessary to see what is inside the coffin. What Chu Dong didn't notice was that on the nearby street corner, Wu Yong was hunching his body and staring at the few people tightly. Wu Yongyue's heart pounded as he watched. In fact, he was not foolish either. When he saw Chu Dong not going home and following his direction, he felt something was wrong, so he followed him out again. At first glance, it was discovered that there was a problem. A weak scholar, in the blink of an eye, had abandoned two tomb robbers with big arms and round waists, which seemed abnormal no matter how it looked. Wu Yong said, "That's not right. This kid has always been under my nose. Where did he come from with such strength? Without internal energy, one is not a warrior. Simple skills. I need to try him again." Wu Yong took out two small paper figures from his arms, which had already had their birthdates written on them. These two paper figures were clearly prepared in advance and had blood fingerprints pressed on them. Wu Yong started reciting words while holding on to two pieces of paper. Immediately after, the two pieces of paper suddenly burned themselves to ashes without fire, and Wu Yong's overall state seemed to be almost half worse, as if he had just finished 2 overnight stays. The bodies of those two grave robbers who were just about to leave suddenly froze. They turned around stiffly, their mouths slightly open, and even saliva dripped from it without seeing the monk. Their pupils dilated, their necks tilted forward, like an irrational zombie. The target's head yang energy has been greatly affected and almost completely eliminated. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Empty Hand Sketches. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Empty Hand Sketches. Chu Dong took 2 steps back because their current appearance was a bit eerie. Can you see the yang energy? Energy at different frequencies and bands, invisible to the naked eye, but actually exists and can be perceived. Host can be understood as electromagnetic energy. The trembling bodies of the two suddenly stabilized, and then they pounced directly towards Chu Dong. The intelligent mode immediately activated, and they dodged left and right like a flexible monkey. Chu Dong dodged sideways and punched the grave robber boss on the temple. Ji now used an inch punch to unleash his power, which was a powerful short-range technique. Even though his body was weak, a normal person would feel dizzy from such a punch. But after the tomb robber was beaten, he just tilted his head without any reaction. Chu Dong wanted to leave, but the speed of these two things also became extremely fast. They were both running on the ground, no longer like humans, but more like beasts. But after all, the computing power of the intelligent brain is there. No matter how fierce they are, they haven't touched a corner of Chu Dong's clothes, but this is not a solution. Chu Dong was worried, and Wu Yong, who was in the dark, was even more worried. He was so angry that he stomped his feet. He even used this een corpse technique and couldn't even deal with a bookworm. If this technique continues, my life will be gone for 3 days and I haven't seen any effect yet. How could Wu Yong not be angry? The yang energy on their heads is almost zero, which has happened to you before. Are you saying that when I just crossed over? The brain is wrapped in ghost energy, so there is no yang energy left. There is a possibility that in the current situation, targeted attacks may only be effective, such as spells. Then why don't you give it a try? In fully automatic mode, it is unable to effectively guide yang qi, and the current reason is unknown. It is estimated that it may be related to the soul. The intelligent brain does not have a soul and requires the host's participation. There are 2 combat modes for Jinao, one is fully automatic, with Chu Dong watching the play, and the other is combat assistance. During Chu Dong's battle, Jinao provides suggestions, including prediction, avoidance prompts, and so on. But ultimately, assistance is just assistance. Help me suppress my emotions, just like last time. Then return my body to me. Comprehensive emotional suppression has begun. After all, Chu Dong is just an ordinary person. How could he face 2 devilish monsters calmly? Only by suppressing his emotions and putting him in the same state as last time did he dare to fight. Perhaps a bit hesitant, but this is the fact that he is not the kind of person who can adapt to everyone in one go, and can only make good use of everything at hand. Chu Dong's eyes gradually became numb, and he kicked the tomb robber in the chest, flipped back twice with force, and widened the distance. Then, his whole body trembled, and his control shifted. Chu Dong looked at the two without any nervousness, and there were many different annotations in front of him. For example, based on their combat habits, there were simulations of the likely direction of attack and the posture of attack. This is the combat assistance function, but the main body of the battle is still Chu Dong himself, so the battle is inevitably a bit awkward, and he was punched twice. The carrier of Yang Qi. If the yellow talisman and cinnabar are meant to retain Yang energy for a long enough time, what if they are directly triggered at the moment of completing the talisman? You can try it. In fact, air can also be a carrier, but it is easy to disperse. In theory, the output of Yang energy is fast enough and stable enough to achieve it. Following Jinao's advice, Chu Dong bent down and dodged. He lifted his head and punched the man in the neck, then kicked the tomb raider out with a backward kick. With the help of recoil, he pushed the leader against the wall, successfully separating the two. Later, Chu Dong extended his finger and directly drew a talisman on the man's forehead. This standard talisman didn't have many strokes and had an average effect, but it was also a real talisman. In just 2 seconds, the spell was completed, and a golden light flashed. The pattern of the spell appeared for about a second, and it clashed with the spell on the man's body, causing a faint explosion. The man fainted on the spot. To say that this talisman is also strange, it must have the participation of Chu Dong, and the fully automatic mode is completely ineffective. This is one less troublemaker, and the remaining second one is not a match for Chu Dong at all. Without much strength, he was solved by the second spell drawn by Chu Dong. At this time, Wu Yong had already fled. When Chu Dong drew the first empty-handed talisman, Wu Yong was afraid. Although Wu Yong's body was old and frail, he was really not slow to run. Walking through the streets and alleys, he was almost on the verge of flying eaves and walls. While walking, he was still muttering incessantly, indicating the extreme unease in his heart. I can't even draw explosive yang symbols with empty hands. What's the situation with this kid? Even the slightest fluctuation in the output of this yang energy can shatter the talisman, and I have never heard of anyone drawing an empty-handed talisman. Besides, who would use explosive yang symbols to deal with puppets? Do you use an ox knife to kill chickens? Wu Yong was not afraid of the lowest level talisman in the explosive yang suit, but it was this kid who made him a bit confused now, so he didn't dare to act rashly anymore. In the eyes of practitioners, there has always been a concept that there is no high or low level of technique, only suitable and unsuitable. Unlike warriors who have clear levels, sorcerers can exorcise evil and catch ghosts as long as they master their spells in their own field. Using appropriate spells in appropriate scenes is the top pursuit of sorcerers. To put it simply, 1 day's worth of life can be exchanged for death, and 10 days of life can never be exchanged for death. All spells consume lifespan. The use of explosive yang symbols here is a technique that can solve problems, but is not suitable. Chu Dong walked to the place where Wu Yong had been hiding before and twisted the paper dust on the ground. He didn't miss Wu Yong, but was entangled by these two people and couldn't escape. Brain domain suppression has been lifted. Emotions gradually returned to Chu Dong's mind, and he didn't feel much this time. The biggest effect of suppressing emotions was to make him calm and not misjudge due to excitement and fear. Chu Dong reconstructed the paper ash according to its shape and made 2 small figures. Paper Man, was that Wu Yong who was staring at me just now? This footprint is consistent with Wu Yong's body shape, and there is also mud. Chu Dong went to strip off the clothes of those 2 people again, searched around and didn't see anything special. The external biological energy blocks one's own perception, and the specific mechanism of action is not yet clear. Go ask the old beggar again tomorrow, that's all I can do today. Why can you manipulate yang qi? I can't even see it. The essence of yang qi is the energy produced by cell metabolism, and it will respond well to the transmission of neurotransmitters and blood in the human body. So as long as you continue to send spiritual instructions in a certain direction, you can control the yang energy. This is what it means to guard the elixir field and recite according to one's heart's desire. But I still can't see the yang energy based on the current situation. The host does not need to master the use of yang qi because humans can never achieve the proficiency of the intelligent brain in the use of yang energy. Let's forget it for now, but this empty-handed talisman is indeed handsome, especially at the moment when the yang energy explodes and reveals its golden light. End of this chapter.